Shalom, shalom to the nation of Yasharallah. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah Barakatah to the nation of Israel. This is Officer Zakar of LOZ Augusta, Georgia, under Priest Kahan and Minister Shalimah of the Light of Zion. Today's video will be about debunking Mamzer doctrine. Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's open up with the book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 17. This is the book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 17. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Adonai Yahweh Shai, give it thanks to the Most High and the Father by him. So no matter what we do in righteousness, we do it all in the reputation of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, right? So let's go to the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 4 and verse 3. Let's go straight into it. Book of 2 Timothy, chapter 4, verse 3. And it reads, For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. So there's going to be a time, and we're in that time right now, where our people won't even adhere to sound doctrine or listen to sound doctrine. But anything that sounds good to them and rubs off on them in the right way to them, that's what they're going to go listen to, right? Actually, let's get the Blue Letter Bible definition for lust, right? Let's get that. Let's get the definition for the word lust. And it's Strong's G1939, epithmia. It means desire, a craving, a longing, or desire of what is forbidden. So them going to listen to things that aren't scriptural, like for example, like the OT only thing, right? Or the Negro only doctrine, or New Testament only doctrine, or the doctrine of only eating fruits and vegetables, when we know that we have to sacrifice in the law, having to sacrifice the lamb so that we can keep the Passover. People going against the doctrine of the Most High, the law, statutes, and commandments, that's them going and having itching ears, listening to things that are not of what the scriptures actually say, such as the Mamzer doctrine, by the way. So let's get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23, and we're going to start at verse 2. Let's get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23, and verse 2. And it reads, A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh, even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Most High. So let's get the definition in the Blue Letter Bible for the word bastard, because some say it's a mixed child, or some saying that it's a child who has an Israelite father, right, or even an Israelite mother, and vice versa. Being with another nation. I mean, the father could be another nation, but they have an Israelite mother, or having an Israelite father and then having a heathen mother, right? So they're saying that that's a bastard. So let's just get the etymology for the word bastard here, right? It's Strong's H4464, right? The first definition says a bastard, child of incest, illegitimate child. A says bastard, B says mixed population, and C says born of a Jewish father and a heathen mother, or vice versa. But what does the scripture actually say? Which one actually fits what the scriptures actually say? Right, so let's go back to the scripture, right? Deuteronomy chapter 23 and 2. It says, A bastard should not enter into the congregation of the Most High, even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Most High. Verse 3, An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh. So after just talking about how a bastard should not enter into the congregation of the Most High, it immediately goes to two specific peoples, right? Two specific nations, Ammon and Moab. Right, so let's remember what the definition said. The very first one, it said a bastard, a child of incest or illegitimate child. So let's get some of the history of Ammon, of Moab, right? Let's get some of the history in the book of Genesis, chapter 19. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 19. Slocky. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 19, and I'm going to start at verse 30. And it says, And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his two daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar. And he dwelt in a cave, he and his two daughters. So they're alone in this cave, right? And this is after Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. Verse 31. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the people. So clearly the daughters believe that there's no more people on earth, like there's no more men on the earth. So they want to conserve seed from their father to continue their people, right? Verse 32. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, not nor when she arose. Meaning he didn't know what was going on. He was gone. Like that's how powerful the wine was, and how much they might have made him drink. Right? Verse 34. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in, and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. Verse 35. And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Verse 36. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. So both children of Lot lay with their father, having him completely wasted. He was gone, right? From having had being drunk or drinking, right? So what is wrong with what they just did? That's incest. Let's get that in the book of Leviticus, in the law, right? Let's get that in the book of Leviticus, chapter 18. Let's start at verse 6. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 18 and verse 6. And it reads, None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am Yahweh. Verse 7. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother thou shalt not uncover. She is thy mother, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. All right, so it's literally telling you in the very beginning of that verse that you should not uncover the nakedness of your father. So what is the thing that they did? They did exactly that. They actually uncovered the nakedness of their father, laid with him, and they got pregnant. Right? So through our understanding, we understand that through the first definition in the Strongs for a mamzer, right? It's a bastard, child of incest, and illegitimate child. So let's go back to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23 again. All right, let's get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23. We're going to start at verse 2 again. And it reads, A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh, even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Most High. An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Most High. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Most High forever. Why? Because according to the definition of what a mamzer is, they are the true mamzers, right? The first mamzers, right? A child of incest, they were born of a child of incest, and they're illegitimate children, right? Ammon and Moab, that's what they are, right? That's exactly what they are. So they fit the biblical definition perfectly because they were illegitimate children born of incest from two sisters laying with their father, which is wrong according to Leviticus chapter 18, verse 7. Just to recap. So what is the congregation that is talking about that they're not allowed to be in, right? What is that congregation that scriptures are talking about? Let's get the book of Lamentations, chapter 1 and 10. Let's get the book of Lamentations, chapter 1 and 10. book of Lamentations, chapter 1 and verse 10. The adversary hath spread out his hand upon all her pleasant things. The adversary here is talking about the other nations. It says, for she hath seen that the heathen entered into her sanctuary. What is the sanctuary right here? What is this talking about? Right here is talking about the temple. But back then, our sanctuary was actually the tabernacle when we were in the wilderness. Right? Let's continue. It says, whom thou didst command that they should not enter into thy congregation. When was this commanded? In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23. They would not enter into the congregation, whether it be a specific time or at all. And for this, for this specific lesson, it's talking about Moab and Ammon, right? Or it's talking about the Mamzer in general. They can't enter into the congregation whatsoever, right? So, like I said before, we're debunking the Mamzer doctrine that's out here talking about people that have mixed children being Mamzers, right? So let's continue to debunk this, right? Let's use Moses for an example. Moses had two wives, one of a Midianite, who was a Midianite, Salakia, according to Exodus chapter 2, verse 21 to 22, and Exodus chapter 18, verse 2. And he had an Ethiopian wife, according to Numbers chapter 12, verse 1. And he had children with both of them, right? Or he had children, right? Salakia. It says, now, according to the false Mamzer understanding that's being tossed around, Moses' sons would be Mamzers. But let's see what the scriptures actually say. Let's get the book of First Chronicles, chapter 23 and 14. Salakia. The book of First Chronicles, chapter 23 and verse 14. This is the book of First Chronicles, chapter 23, verse 14. Right? Oh, Salaki, give me 1 second. Second Chronicles. I went to Second Chronicles. Salaki. First Chronicles, chapter 23 and verse 14. And it reads, now concerning Moses, the man of the Most High, his sons were named of the tribe of Levi. Now, with the Mamzer doctrine's understanding, the scriptures wouldn't have said that they were named of the tribe of Levi. It would have just called them Mamzers or bastards. But the scriptures plainly said that they were named of the tribe of Levi. Now, why is that? Why do the scriptures have a different understanding than the Mamzer doctrine that's tossing to and fro right now? Let's get the book of Numbers, chapter 1 and verse 18. Let's go back to the book of Numbers, chapter 1 and verse 18. And it reads, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. So back in ancient times, right? And it literally goes with everything today as well. It all goes patrilineally, meaning back to the father, the seed line, because the man carries the seed, not the woman. The man plants the seed in the woman, then a baby is brought forth, right? But without the man, of course, the seed wouldn't be anywhere. So it's from the man, it's patrilineally, not matrilineally. So what determines what you are or what tribe you are, what nation you are, etc., it comes from the seed. It all goes back to the father. Right? So let's get another example. Let's get one more example of this. One more example of this in First Kings. First Kings chapter 11, verse 1. Because we have the understanding that Solomon had many wives, right? Solomon had many wives, King Solomon. First Kings chapter 11, verse 1. And it reads, but King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites. Right? So King Solomon had many wives and concubines of the other nations. The scriptures say that he loved those many strange women. Right? We also have an understanding that he had a son, King Rehoboam. Now let's see what King Rehoboam's mother was. Let's see what nation his mother was. Let's go to the book a few chapters later, the same exact book of First Kings. First Kings chapter 14. And let's go to verse 21. This is the book of First Kings, chapter 14, and verse 21. And Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, reigned in Judah. Rehoboam was 41 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city which the Most High did choose out of all the tribes of Israel to put his name there. And his mother's name was Naamah, an Ammonitess. So she wasn't of the same exact stock, right? She wasn't of our stock, being Israelite. She was an Ammonitess woman. And we all understand that King Rehoboam is recorded to be a king of the tribe of Judah. So why didn't the scriptures call him a Mamzer then? Why didn't the scriptures call him a Mamzer? It clearly calls him a king of the tribe of Judah. The reason why is because his father is an Israelite of the tribe of Judah, King Solomon. And the man is the one who carries the seed, right? With that understanding, we understand. Like once I said, it's like I said once before, we are the ones who determine what the child will be. The father is the one who determines that, not the mother, right? It's not matrilineally, it's patrilineally. With that also being said, there's also an understanding or a misunderstanding rather out there about the tribes supposedly not being able to intermingle, which is not true. We are allowed to be with other tribes. So let's get an example of that as well. Let's get the book of Second Chronicles, chapter 22 and verse 11. Let's get the book of First Chronicles, Second Chronicles, chapter 22, verse 11. And it reads, But Jehoshabeth, the daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons that were slain, and put him and his nurse in a bedchamber. So Jehoshabeth, the daughter of King Jehoram, right? He was the king over Judah at that time, right? Before passing it down to his son. The daughter of King Jehoram, the wife of Jehoiada, the priest. So she was the wife of the priest at that time. Who do we know are the priests? The Levites. And this time, the Levites were the priests, right? So what does that show us? That Judah and Levi were being like they were married together. Now, if this wasn't if this was something that wasn't supposed to be done, why is the priest doing this? Why is the priest doing this and it's lawful and it's still okay? Like I said, because there's a misunderstanding about the tribes being able to intermingle with one another, right? Because if the tribes couldn't mingle with one another, why would the priest be doing this? Because the Most High never said that we weren't allowed to mingle with the other tribes. Never, he never said it. Never came out of his mouth. This is what the Most High said in the scriptures, right? We shouldn't be leaning on to our own understanding. Let me get that as well. Let's get that as well. The book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 5. Let's get the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, and verse 5. And it reads, Trust in Yahweh with all thine heart. What is the heart? The heart is talking about your mind. So whenever you see the spirit dwelling in the heart, it's talking about your mind, right? Because that's your thinking process. That's what determines what you do, what you say, and how you move, right? And it says, and lean not unto thine own understanding. So when you have your own understanding, you start thinking that you're not allowed to intermingle with other tribes. When the scriptures don't say that, right? Because the Most High is very, very, very straight to the point of what he said to Israel. He never at all said that we're not allowed to intermingle with the other tribes, right? Let's continue a little bit on. It says, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. So when you're moving in a specific way, for example, this priest right here, the Most High is directing his paths. If he was not allowed to marry with the Judite sister, the Most High wouldn't have allowed that to happen in the first place. But it was all okay because it's all lawful, right? And with that, I want to say all praises unto Yahweh, by Hashem HaMashiach Yahweh Shai, and Shalom to the nation of Israel.